Hey y'all, this is Mike. Thanks for showing up, man, spending your time here. Still fighting the flu, of course, and it's now almost 4:30 in the morning. Leanda B. So she's back on. I don't even know what I'm trying to say. She's back up. I'll say that. And she wants me to react to police. She says, "Hiya, one and all." So she's talking to all of us. She says the first video is 2025 from funny Aussie comedian Yorikunt, but probably not best to say on camera. Oh, okay, yeah, I see that. This one is comedic. This one is a comedic. I can't say it. It's a funny look at Aussie police. Thought it appropriate seeing that you and Mr. Pete discuss police matters. All right, man. Yeah, hey, so we haven't been able to do our police talk podcast for a couple of weeks now, but we're this coming Friday, which would be Saturday for you guys. We're gonna start doing some more. So y'all hang in there. I've had some issues that I've had to deal with around here. I've got this last week, and then everything will be back to normal. So, without further delay, let's get in the intro and right in the video.
The sound of the police. Whoop, whoop. That's the sound of the beast. Hey, 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 hey.
Yeah, some days I feel unfazed, like when I'm with my friends with a cup raised. And on Monday, I got a gun raised. Suicidal do a die until hump day. Then I go right back at it like an automatic. More drinks, more songs, more beats to rap. Don't need a shrink, I'm gone. More time keeps passing. No watch, no thoughts at all. Just a hat, new era. Rep my P's and those O's. These Phillies with the orange and blacks. I feel home. From Citizens Bank back to Camden Yards. It's a tale of two cities, and trust we go hard. Trust we go hard. Yes, we go hard. You said we go hard. I said we go hard. Rockin' my Bob Cousy, stocking up on the loose. Did the lyrics come easy, but the life is a doozy. And yes, I'm choosy, and no, I won't settle, but I still take pop off over that kettle. Cause I'm talking bigger picture, and yes, I'm gonna hit you with the
Police. What would we do without them? Crime, probably. Being a police officer is just one of those jobs that everyone who isn't a police officer thinks, thank God that's not me. All over the world, on a daily basis, police officers have to put up with all sorts of bullshit. And while they do manage to dish out a fair bit of it themselves, I'm sure that we've all seen enough evidence on the news and social media that this job isn't for the faint-hearted. But you see, Australian police officers have it a little bit different to the rest of the world. First off, our tight gun laws mean that they're a lot less likely to get shot on the job, and unlike any other police force in the entire world, they have to deal with the Australian public. And combine that with the fact that these guys are also Australians, which means when they're not on the clock, most of them are just as big of a degenerate as the rest of us. This makes for some otherworldly shenanigans. Anyway, before I get arrested for supplying you guys with commercial quantities of waffle, it's time for me to shut up. Because in today's video, not only will we be going through the most important aspects of being a police officer in Australia, but we'll also be going through some of the greatest police moments in Australian history. But before we get into any of that, make sure to hit that subscribe button and help me get to 100,000 subscribers. And if you don't, I'll have you arrested. Anyway, let's get into it. So let's start off with what is quite possibly the most important part of being a police officer, the police car. These days, the police cars are quite boring. They're usually things like the Ford Ranger, Volkswagen Passat, or these BMWs. But you see, it wasn't always that way. Back in the day, the police used to be given cars like the Holden SS Commodore, the XR6 Turbo, the VL Turbo, and how could I forget the almighty AU Falcon. And while these cars were good at fighting crime, when the police were done with them and they were sold dirt cheap at the auctions, they were even better at committing them. You see, these cars were usually fitted out with upgraded brakes, an LSD, and a V8 or turbocharged engine. Now back in in the day, this ex-police yellow VL Turbo would sell for about $1,000, which meant that they were usually snapped up for dirt cheap and hammered until one day the owner spun out and wrapped it around a tree during a police chase, which means that there was probably a few occasions where police officers were chasing down cars that they were driving on the job just a few months ago in a high-speed chase. But unfortunately for us, those days are over. These VL Commodores used to be $1,000, but now they're well over $100,000. And these ex-cop AU Falcons used to be around $500, and now they're well over $1,000. Anyway, that's enough of me whinging about everything being too expensive. Although they may not be as exciting as the police cars of the past, these modern day police cars are perfectly suited to the modern day police activities. These include things like going to McDonald's where they get 50% off their order, getting T-boned by idiots who can't see the flashing lights or hear the sirens, and most importantly, picking up youth criminals and delivering them to the courthouse just for them to get let out on bail. You see, these days in Australia, everything is either too expensive or illegal, which means the youth of Australia have to find something else to do in their pastime. And this usually includes things such as theft and violence. You see, for some reason, these youth offenders are just getting let out on bail like it's nothing. Like this 14-year-old who has almost 400 charges and yet again got let out on bail. So this means that these kids are getting arrested by the police, getting let back out on the streets on bail, and then just getting arrested once again, and the cycle repeats itself. Now obviously this is no fun for the people who are getting their cars stolen and homes invaded, but the police are probably sick of it too by now. No wonder no one wants to be a police officer anymore. But by far the best part about being a police officer in Australia is that you can pretty much get away with anything, even murder. Okay, maybe not. Anyway, now that we've covered the basics of being a police officer in Australia, which includes flogging the police cars, the 50% discount on all Macca's orders, fighting with junkies, and of course arresting and re-arresting the same little shits over and over again, it's time to get into some of the greatest police moments in Australian history. Now first up, we're going to start with a classic. In January of 2023, this lady was caught driving around with no number plates. Now obviously, if you're going to drive around with no number plates, it's best to take the back streets and do it at night. Now after she got pulled over, she added fuel to the fire by arguing with the police officer, refusing to comply with his directions and claiming that she was travelling, not driving. Now after a little bit of back and forth,
You guys don't even know what yous are on about.
this police officer came to the conclusion that she is an idiot. But what you may not know is that this lady actually had 2 warrants out for her arrest, so she needed to be arrested. But due to the fact that she'd locked herself in and refused to get out, the only option left was to smash the fuck out this window. Now after a quick bit of yapping from the hero in the passenger seat,
You're a freak. Yep. Man, I would love to just get you one-on-one.
the driver was finally placed under arrest. Anyway, next up we have another classic, and that is the stoned police officer. During a traffic stop, this driver notices that this police officer shows a few symptoms that indicate he's been spending a bit too much time in the evidence room. So naturally, he decides to pop the question.
Are you stoned?
And the officer's response just doesn't help his case.
Driver's license. Look at your eyes.
You see, this video goes for roughly 5 minutes, and throughout the whole video, the police officer can't seem to wipe this little smirk off his face. And I'll be honest, I have no idea whether this cop was actually stoned or not, but I don't remember hearing him deny it in the video. But the second best part about this video has to be when the driver turns the camera around and reveals that everyone else in the van looks just as stoned as the cop. Now this next one is from much more recent times. This Uber driver had been pulled over for speeding, and it was evident that there was a little bit of a language barrier between the police officer and the Uber driver. But today was their lucky day because the passenger was a translator. So obviously he let the police officer know,
I can translate.
and the police officer was over the moon.
Excellent, that would be good.
Yeah.
So after the police officer had told the driver what he'd done wrong, it was the translator's time to shine.
You can translate if you want. Fire
Yeah.
away.
Hey, bar. Hey. Too fast.
And in my opinion, he translated it perfectly. But for some reason, the police officer didn't appreciate his efforts.
Oh, you don't speak.
And after dishing out a brutal champing,
That's excellent. You're a real champ.
He was told to shut up. Next up, we have another one from recent times. You may not be able to see him, but there is a man in the back of this divvy van. Now, despite being arrested for having an outstanding warrant and, I quote, stealing shit, this upstanding citizen wasn't going to go down without a fight. But unbeknownst to Robin Hood, who steals from others to give to himself, neither was this police officer. Now, this interaction is quite funny, so I'll let the clip play, but I'll add some subtitles since you can't hear fucking anything. Now, the final insult hurled at this police officer was the classic, "Why don't you get a real job?" which she quickly rebutted with, leaving him speechless. Anyway, before we get into our last one, we've got a few honourable mentions to get through. First up, of course, it wouldn't be a Yorak Hunt video if we didn't mention Just Waiting for a Mate. Then, of course, we've got the K9 Unit, Merry-Go-Round at the airport, Eshe Cop, Detective Dive Bomb, and of course, Democracy Manifest.
Get your hand off my penis!
But of course, we have one more honourable mention, and that is the Slide Cop from the land of the free and the home of the brave. Anyway, I of course have saved the best till last. This police officer was giving out an interview when all of a sudden this sharply dressed man holding a bottle of what I can only assume is kombucha started to yell obscenities. And this one once again is just too funny, so I'll let the clip play.
Yeah, can you move? Guys?
Guys.
Get the beer out. Put the glass bottle there.
Guys.
Guys. Yeah, come in here. Come in here. Come in here. Alright? Come in here. No. You're under arrest for offence, Blaine.
After grabbing him like a naughty toddler, he was marched into the police station, where I assumed due to the fact that he's not a minor and didn't steal anyone's car or commit a home invasion, he was sentenced to life in prison. Anyway, at the end of the day, there's good police officers and there's bad police officers, and while a lot of them can be complete and utter 90% of them are nice and are just doing their job. So if you ever get in trouble for something that isn't murder, just play stupid, be nice, and you may even get let off. And on that educational note, it's time to end. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, comment, and share if you'd like to hear more teachings from the Prophet of Yorak Hunt. And if you enjoyed this video so much that you watched it all the way till the end, make sure to comment to let me know.
Yeah, man. Funny stuff. You know, and I've told people this before who aren't cops. You know, I did it for 27 years before I retired. It's the funnest circus in town. You literally are doing something like that almost all day long, every day that you're out there working. Not every minute. You know, I mean, sometimes it's super boring, and sometimes it gets, you know, pretty scary too, you know, doing cop shit. But for most of the time, it's just funny stuff, like the dude walking across the street, you know, talking smack, and it's got a beer in his hand, which is a violation to begin with. Yet these idiots draw attention to themselves. I pulled a guy over one time for speeding, and he had over 100 pounds of marijuana in his car. Now, if you're me or normal people and you were to have that in your car, or let's say you find out your wife's got it in, you know, just a small amount in her purse and that you didn't know about, but then you find out about it, you'd be doing like 5 miles an hour under the speed limit. You're using your blinker, looking both ways. You don't want to draw attention to yourself. But that's what makes cop work so funny, is because these idiots, you know, it's just a revolving door for them. And I think I've said it on here before, or maybe with Pete on the police officer podcast that we do, that I pulled a guy over for his 8th DWI, driving while intoxicated. His 8th. Why is he out of prison? You know, why is he not in there forever? But somehow another lawyers get him off, or judges don't see eye to eye with the lawyers and let him go. Who knows what it is? But yeah, 8 times, 8 stinking times. And And I'm sure that was probably 15 years ago, 15 to 20 years ago. He's probably got a couple more under his belt by now. But yeah, just like this video said, it's just a revolving door, man. You arrest them, you do 4 hours worth of paperwork, and they're literally waiting for you on the curb. When you get done with the paperwork, they're already released. I don't know, I don't get it, but I don't ever get wrapped up with it because I've done my part and I move on. So all right, man, thank you, Leanne DeBee, for the super request, and the rest of y'all, thanks for stopping by and spending your time here. So till I see you again, I'll catch you down the road. Bye, y'all.